Welcome to the Ambitious Introvert Podcast, created especially for introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive entrepreneurs to help you build, grow, and scale a successful, sustainable business. I'm your host, Emma-Louise Parks, business and mindset coach for ambitious introverts. After 17 years working as an air traffic controller, the ultimate fast-paced, high-stimulus, extrovert-friendly role, my mission now is to show introverts that they too can create big results and success because of who they are, not in spite of it. I focus on introvert-friendly business and marketing strategy to help you switch overwhelm for clarity, confidence, and clients. Hello, welcome to the Ambitious Introvert Podcast. I'm Emma-Louise, and a really brief episode today. But I'm in the process of putting together everything behind the scenes for the Ambitious Introvert Academy, which launches at the end of March. It's a program for brand new entrepreneurs who are looking to start their online business. And it really got me thinking about why I've created certain aspects of the program the way I have. And a lot of it is because it's what I wish I had when I started my online business journey. I was lucky or unlucky enough, depending how you look at it, to take a number of programs that just didn't work for me. They didn't suit my energy. They didn't suit my personality. And that's not to say they were bad. Other people got great results, but this was really the whole process that helped me niche into introverts, because I started to realize we need to do things a little bit differently. And there are things that we need to consider when we are growing a business, when we are making investments. So in this episode, I'm just going to share with you what's been coming up for me while I've been, refining the program and looking at different aspects of it. And I'm going to tell you the 5 things that I really wish that I had support-wise when I started my online business. Now, if you're listening to this, we're probably quite similar. So therefore, I'm hoping that some of them will be useful and make you think about it. And whatever type of support you look for, whether it's with myself, whether it's with another coach, maybe keep these things in mind, because until you don't know, right? So I went into programs that were structured in certain ways because I didn't know that was going to be bad for me, or I didn't know that was going to drain me. So having that awareness to help you to filter it can be really, really useful. So anyway, on with it. The first thing that I really wish that I had was a roadmap to follow versus what I actually had in my first program, which was a huge vault of information. So what I see now is I needed a really clear path, and I needed to do the right steps in the right order. So I have a brain that likes to be 34 steps ahead. And I like to take on all the information, and I like to know everything. Now, if you give me a vault with 40 different videos in around everything from designing a website to Facebook ads to money mindset, and I'm brand new to business, I don't know where to start, and I'm going to get overwhelmed, and I'm going to feel like I need to learn all of it before I can take step 1. This is my downfall, being a 1-3 in human design. So what I really wish that I had was a roadmap. I really wished that I had content that was dripped and that was structured in a way that made complete sense, so that I could focus on the thing that week that I needed to focus on, get that done, and then move on to the next step without dipping in and thinking about everything else that I need to do and looking ahead and go, should I be doing that? Should I be doing this? And also, not just the overwhelm of information, but I wasted so many hours watching videos, video trainings that are 45 minutes, an hour long about something that actually wasn't that useful to me at the time. So I created the Academy with that roadmap in mind for that exact reason. And I do think that's why the program has 100% completion rate, because no one dropped off, because they were kept on the path as such. So it makes it really easy to stick to. I kept the videos super short as well and actionable. And like I say, that is why having a vault of info can be super helpful when you're more established in business. If you're working with a coach and they share with you all of their trainings and all of their resources, that's great. But if you're just starting out, having something that's more structured can be really helpful. So that's the first one. Number 2 is I really wish that I had a cohort, a group of people that stayed with me because I actually joined an evergreen program. And there are a couple of reasons for this. The thing with a cohort is everyone is at the same level and everyone is doing the same thing at the same time, which keeps it very simple. It keeps it very supportive. Everyone's working on the same module. Everyone's working on the same task. So it's really great for that support, knowing people are doing the same thing as you. They're at the same level. You can ask questions. You can, bounce ideas off each other, that kind of thing. It also means that on the calls, everyone's coming with the same kind of questions. So it's really helpful because you get to hear other people's questions about the very thing you're working on, which gives you a different perspective. So I've got no issue with evergreen programs at all. But I think for new business owners, it can be really overwhelming. Again, back to the first point about too much information. The very first call I got on where, I was brand new and I just bought my domain and I just set up an Instagram account and not posted on it. And the person next to me was talking about having a $50,000 launch. And I was so overwhelmed and I just felt all over the place. And then the next person was asking about the energy. And then someone else was asking about Facebook ads. And as a sensitive introvert, all of that information was a lot. And it definitely held me back from taking the steps that I needed to because I was taking on all of this other information, everyone else's energy. So for me, having a cohort where I knew that everyone was at the same level, we could, all connect and build those relationships and not get too overwhelmed by, 10 different subjects on a call. That is what I wish I had. And that's why I run the Academy in cohorts. Thirdly, I really wish I had a small group versus an unlimited number of people for two reasons. Firstly, for the calls, because once you start to get, 15, 20 people turning up to a 1-hour call, all trying to ask their question about different things, it gets a lot and people get missed out or they get rushed, they get cut off. And that is not what I needed. I needed the space and the attention, and I needed to know that I would get my question answered on the call. Also for building relationships, I joined one program and I joined the Facebook group and there were 15,000 people in this Facebook group. I think I didn't even go in there again. And when I asked a question, it wasn't the coach that was answering them. It was just other people in there giving their opinion. And I would get all these different opinions. And again, it was super overwhelming. So having a small group is great for the calls because you get more attention. It's calmer. It's just got a nice atmosphere. But also for things like the private Facebook group where you support each other, it means that you actually get to know the people and you actually get to create those deeper relationships, which, of course, as introverts, we all love. Number 4 that I wish that I'd had is some space to integrate the information rather than having weekly calls every week all the way through. And credit for this to Lacey Sites. When I worked with Lacey one-on-one, she offers 3 calls a month and a week for integration. And that was game changing for me. Even though that was in a one-on-one capacity, I started to think about how I could apply that in a group. And I've done that ever since. And I do it with my one-on-one clients as well. Like when I offered 3 calls a month, they always got a week off for implementation. So a lot of my clients actually have now taken that on board in their business as well. And they make sure that they have it a week a month where they don't do calls and they can implement in their own business, right? So it's this thing about going through seasons, but basically making sure that we have space to integrate because it can be a lot. You're doing a program, you're watching videos, you've got to go away, you've got to brainstorm on stuff, you've got to come up with ideas, you've got to go and take action. Like for me, I had a full-time job at the time that I was doing this program. So I needed space to do the work and take the right action, but also to rest and also to have a life and also to be in my job and to sleep and all of these things. And I actually found that weekly, like every week in, week out was just too much. So that's one of the reasons that I bought in the space to integrate. I also really hated the feeling of being behind. So this can happen with a structured program like the Academy, of course, life happens. Of course, you'll have a holiday booked. You might get sick, a child gets sick, you're doing something else. You had a migraine, like all of these things happen, right? So I really hate this feeling of being behind, and I know it's a really bad energy to be in. So the thing with adding integration weeks every few modules is you don't get behind because there's always time to catch up. It's what I've seen in groups and courses and different things so often is that's why people stop. That's why people drop off. Something happens in life and they don't take the module the week it's released. And then there's another module and there's another, and it feels like it's snowballing, like it's overwhelming because all these things keep being released and we are, 3 or 4 modules back. It can make us feel behind, and that's not a nice feeling. And then people check out emotionally and they don't finish the program, which is the last thing that I want, because I want every single person that takes my program to finish it. So to negate that feeling of being behind, integration weeks are a really great way to give some space. And hey, if you do everything on the week that it's released, great, you get some time to relax. And if you don't, you know that you've got some breathing space before the next module comes out. So that's something that I really wish I had rather than trying to get everything done and just turn up week after week after week. I will give a quick example of the last round of the academy. One of the students really hated the waiting. She was literally chomping at the bit to get to the next. She wanted to rush through everything and get it done and then start the next one. And she really, there was a lot of mindset around this and she really struggled with it. And I could see it because I knew that I probably would feel the same if I was in that situation. However, it then turned into her being so grateful to say, thank you for designing it this way, because it was exactly what I needed. Because forcing her to have that space and think about things actually helped her get more clarity than just, I need to do the module, let me get through it, tick, what's next, which, if we are a bit more type A, overachiever and ambitious, which anyone listening to this podcast is, of course, then that is our default right to go and try and get through it. But when we're doing something as important as building a business and really working into what we want from that, like we can't necessarily just sit down and tick it off in half an hour. Sometimes it needs to kind of percolate in our brain. Like one of the things that they always say about innovation and creativity is when you come up with a new idea, it's not new information. You don't read new information and then come up with an idea. It's information that's already in your brain, but it gets linked and processed in a different way. So this is why having that space and spreading out the modules and having the integration is really great, because you could work through the videos one day and you could be out for a walk 2 days later and something drops in about, the connections in your brain start to see it in a different way rather than forcing it when you've just taken on the information. Okay, so the last thing that I really wish I had in a program to help me in starting my business, I really wish that I had frameworks that were flexible for different types of business, different types of personality, different types of energy, different ways of marketing. And instead, unfortunately, I joined a couple of programs that had formulas, and they were very, very strict formulas. So this was described to me once as, and I love this, a formula is like a really strict recipe. Like you've got to be super precise with all of the measurements and you can't get one little bit wrong because otherwise the end result just won't work. Like the souffle won't rise, if you will. Whereas a framework is more like you can take the ingredients, but you can modify them a little bit to suit you. If you like it spicier, then you can add some extra chili. And, if you don't like the taste of something, you can probably miss it out and substitute something else. And, if you like your cake to be lighter, you can adapt, how much butter you put in compared to how much liquid or whatever the thing is. I'm not a baker. I don't know why I chose that analogy, but that's the point with the framework, right? It's a looser version. Like you still hit all the elements. You don't miss something out completely, but you've got much more adaptability in how you want to do it. For me, I got really stuck when something in the formula felt icky. So I remember one of them, it was, I did two or three steps of the formula and that was fine. And then the next step was cold DM 100 people every day. And that was just so against how I wanted to build a business, but there was no other option. I was just told we have to do that or the rest of it doesn't work, which I now totally see because the rest of the formula was based on the responses from the cold DMs and what you do with that. And I was like, well, that's it then. It doesn't work for me because that one step, if it had been like, you can send cold DMs, or you can engage on Facebook, or you can write a guest blog post for someone, or you can, if I'd have had different options like that, I'd have been like, oh, okay, so this is interesting. Which one feels good? And frameworks would have allowed me to do that and create a business in a way that felt good. But with the formula, as soon as we get to a part of it that doesn't feel good and we can't action on, the rest of it is often pretty useless and can't be used. So in a nutshell, that is very briefly, as I'm sat here working away behind the scenes on the Academy, those are the things that really stood out to me as, I guess, passion parts, because I know what I wanted and needed at that stage of business. A roadmap, a cohort, a small group, some space to integrate, and the frameworks to actually build a business to suit my personality. So that is why all of those are in the Ambitious Introvert Academy. And if you are a brand new business owner looking to start your online business, then I would love to invite you to take a look further. The link is in the show notes. You'll be able to find all of the details coming very, very soon. For now, pop yourself on the waitlist and you'll be the first to hear. If you have any questions at all about the Academy, you can always reach out to me via email, via Instagram DM, however you like. But for now, if nothing else, I would love you to take away from this and think about your next support that you get, or if you're going to start your business and you're looking for your first coach, like which of those things feel important to you. And then hopefully you will make a good choice and you won't be in the same situation that I was in. Thank you for listening, guys. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ambitious Introvert Podcast with me, Emma-Louise Parks. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. As a thank you, one lucky reviewer each month will win a 60-minute one-on-one coaching session with me, where you'll get the clarity and confidence to attract your ideal clients. And if you know someone who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach as many fellow ambitious introverts as possible.